Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Danny.
Well, I'm John.
What are you doing here?
Stuart.
Welcome to Watching My Stories.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Happy holidays. We are in between Christmas and New Year's right now.
Yes.
I believe it's the 7th day of Hanukkah today.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yes. Happy holidays to everyone. Hope you're having a good time. We have been enjoying some time off or less time to work, that sort of thing. John is fighting maybe something. We're not sure if it's just really bad allergies or if he's just, he was traveling, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's just trying to fight some stuff off. So you're going to hear more coughing than usual, more nasally stuff.
And possibly throat clearing, but I'm trying to do better at that.
Yeah, so you might not hear a lot from him today because he actually hasn't seen any of the stuff we're going to talk about. But he'll interject if need be, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to get started with the big movie, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I went last weekend. John was supposed to come with me and decided that morning he didn't feel like it. And then as soon as I got back, he regretted it. And he's going to regret it now because I'm about to spoil everything.
It was even sooner than that because pretty much when I got your text that you were at the theater, I was like, damn. I should have gone.
Yeah, you should have.
I should have.
But it was nice to have an empty seat next to me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So here's the deal, guys. I am going to talk about this. I'm going to spoil it for John. I'm going to spoil it for everyone. So obviously, if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear the secrets of the finale of this saga, 40-year saga, then fast forward and get to the next movie I'm going to talk about, which is Little Women. Okay, so Rise of Skywalker is the 9th movie technically in this saga. We've obviously have had some offshoots of the Star Wars story Rogue One. We've had the Clone Wars, the animated series. We have the Mandalorian that happened after Return of Jedi. But this wrapped it up. And going into it, I didn't know what I was getting into. We've gone through so many years of guessing, right? Of what could this be? Who is Rey? Who are her parents? How can you possibly end this? Right.
Yeah.
Because I think after the Return of Jedi, we were like, okay, it's done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Empire is gone, but we knew they came back then with The Force Awakens. Basically came back with the First Order, just like the rebels, the rebellion was now the resistance and all that. I'm not going to talk much about the middle trilogy just because everyone gets it. So what can I say about this? First off, this was a great story. This was so, when I didn't realize until seeing The Rise of Skywalker that The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, we didn't really get to know anyone very well. We didn't get to know Poe very much. We didn't get to know Finn a whole bunch. We didn't get to know even Rey as much as we wanted to. And in this movie, we learned backstories. We learned just so much more, especially about Poe, which was really, really cool. We got introduced to some new characters. So there was a new little droid, the Do droid, that J.J. Abrams actually voices himself. Really cute little thing. Kerry Russell is in this, another J.J. Abrams player. She got a good part that actually has to do with Poe's backstory. C-3PO, I think, is the star of this movie.
Oh, really?
He was given such a huge role, which was also fantastic. Again, after all these years, given a huge role of importance, and given really funny lines, and given my first cry. Well, technically I cried as soon as the music started in the beginning because I realized I'm never going to have this experience again.
Right.
But first cry of the story was C-3PO.
Is it still Anthony Daniels?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes. So it was. Yeah. And if you look online, a lot of people are going crazy for this other little character that kind of goes with C-3PO's storyline. What is his name? Bubba Freak, I think.
Bubba Freak?
Freak. Yeah, he's this little cute little thing, and he was really funny too. So we got some new characters in the very last movie when you would think we would be focusing on the ones we know, right?
Right.
Lando's in this one a lot, which is really good. And everyone comes back. Leia is back. Han Solo is back. Luke Skywalker is back. Chewie finally gets his medal that he wasn't given in the original trilogy. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, JJ, for giving Chewie his medal. What else? What else can I think of? Voices. We've got the voices of all the Jedi in a very crucial moment. So Samuel L. Jackson, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, what other Jedi? Yoda, a few Jedi from the Clone Wars voices are in there. Luke's voice is in there. Leia's voice is in there.
Was Liam Neeson a Jedi?
Yes.
Okay.
And his voice is in there too. I think he had a line in there. Anakin Skywalker, so Hayden Christensen's voice is in there, which is just an amazing moment when Rey is flooded with all these Jedi voices, giving her the strength to go on. And it was a great moment. There are a million great moments in this, and especially in the last hour, JJ kind of flooded us with imagery of Luke Skywalker's old X-wing, of the lightsabers, of battles. Okay, so here's the big spoiler that I have to talk about anything else.
Oh no.
Is Rey's lineage. Lineage?
I'm pretty certain that's a new word.
That's a new word. Lineage
there you go.
Is so we knew that her parents had left her, right? That was when we first were introduced to her. So it turns out that Emperor Palpatine is her grandfather. So that's why she is so powerful. Her parents left her because they knew Palpatine was going to take her and want her on the dark side. So we come through her whole backstory of this, and we learn that Palpatine is still alive, technically. He's hooked up to a bunch of machines. He's been around this whole time, kind of being the puppet master of everyone. And she has a face-to-face with him in a battle, and all the Siths are there, and he says, I am all of the Siths, and so she has to destroy him and take over for the Siths on the dark side. And there's a whole battle and all this sort of stuff, and she finally defeats him, and everyone goes, and so all of the dark side has been defeated. The other big spoiler is with Kylo Ren, who goes through his emotional journey, which we knew. He is the one who tells Rey about her whole story and says, come with me, we can rule this together, and she battles him. There's quite a few great battles. She ends up getting him, stabs him, and then heals him, and it changes him. And so then he has a moment with Han Solo, which is an amazing moment. It's just amazing. Han says, Kylo is dead, but Ben is still here. And, and Ben and he's just, Adam Driver. Hello. I mean, come on. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit in Marriage Story. So I'll go crazy on him in a minute. It was great. So anyway, he ends up showing up to help Rey in this battle with Palpatine, and it is the coolest thing. It is so cool. And anyway, he ends up saving Rey at the end and dies because of it. So that's how we kind of get to this ending, that the dark side is gone. Like literally, there is nothing left unless Rey was to change. She had Luke and Leia's lightsabers that she battled with, and she took them back to Tatooine, where Luke, his house that we know of, and she sunk them into the ground. and someone is walking by and says, who are you? I don't know you. And I'm getting chills just thinking of it. And she's like, I'm Rey. And she said, what's your family name? And she looks over and she sees Leia and Mark and Luke standing there. And she says, Skywalker. I'm Rey Skywalker. And it was just like, I was a mess at that point. But so she's choosing the light side. She's choosing the Skywalkers. And it was just fantastic. We see Ewoks again. Like, they really brought in, like, it was, they were sitting around going, what else do we need to wrap up? Or what else could we show people just to make them smile? Like, to see the Ewoks again. And Warwick Davis came back in the suit to play an Ewok. Like, it was just those sorts of things of just, and some of them we only got for a second, and it was just that thing of, oh yeah, like Chewie getting the medal. They only gave it, they didn't make it a big deal, but it's a big deal, I'm leaving out a million things, and I know I've spoiled this hugely, especially for you.
Well, the good news is I have such an awful memory. I'll still be surprised by all of this.
I know. It was just perfectly done, in my opinion.
Good.
And I know there's been critics out there. I honestly can't figure out, and I haven't read anyone's complaints. I can't figure out what more you could have wanted.
Look, people are, so it's well documented how I feel about people. People are awful. You're not going to please everybody, right? And everybody has, you ask 10 people and you're going to get 10 different ideas on how to end it. So you just have to pick one and go with it and commit to it. And as you were talking, I was kind of thinking, is there anybody else really that you would trust with this that could pull it off other than J.J. Abrams? I don't know.
I personally wouldn't. They, we're going to, so in our actors corner today, we're doing directors corner. We're doing Ron Howard, and they handed Solo over to him after what's-his-face got fired.
Right.
I haven't seen Solo, but I've heard it just didn't do well. And again, as much as I love Ron Howard and I love everything he does, usually, it's not who I would have thought you would have said, oh, let's get Ron Howard in here to fix this, So, but I'm also like uber fan of JJ, so I don't know that you can take my opinion for, I would say give him everything. I mean, he relaunched Star Trek, he redid this. Jon Favreau would be the only other one that I wowould say could do a Star Wars feature film, because he's single-handedly with the Mandalorian has changed everything. So so that's it. Again, having a true fan, and what he did to bring it back. If The Force Awakens hadn't been what it was, would we even be here just a few years later? Because to finally finish this out,
right? So
and let me point out, there was a second director on this. Before I forget, there was a second director. She was the second unit director, first female for a Star Wars movie director, and first female of color to do such a thing. So, and of course I'm going to forget her name. I think it's Victoria. She works with Ava DuVernay a lot, and it was a really huge deal. And so I don't want to make it
and leave it to JJ to make that happen.
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic.
I want to make sure
that's
get
fine.
her. So.
I really can't think of anybody else that, if I was Disney, man, even the best directors, you take a Spielberg, you take all of those. I think JJ, because of his interests and what he's done for like the Star Trek franchise and just sci-fi in general, I think he's the obvious and probably almost the only choice. So...
Yeah, Victoria Mahoney was the second unit director. So I just wanted to... Okay, so I think that's all I really need to say. I loved it. I can't wait to watch it again. As soon as I came home, you're like, oh, you want to go tomorrow or whatever? It was a little too emotional at that point for me, because I really did cry quite a bit.
But you're ready now?
I think I would be ready now.
Maybe this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this week I might be able to redo that. Yeah, it was just I'm so happy. I don't know, again, I didn't know how they were going to close it out, and I don't think I even had a plan as to how I wanted them to close it out. But it worked, It's good.
Right.
And I'm very happy about it. And everyone was great. Daisy Ridley was really, really amazing this time because she had to explore some different things. You know, in the first couple, she's kind of like this kind of doe-eyed. I don't really understand what's going on with me. I don't understand what's going on around me. But in this one, she knows because she's trained, and she got to be really angry and fight the dark side, and that's a huge thing. And she was badass.
Yeah,
I mean, really, it was fantastic. The effects, some of this, you can't even imagine that it's not real, but you know, obviously they're not on the Death Star or whatever. So yeah, it was great. It was really great.
The Death Star's not real?
No, sorry.
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah, sorry I spoiled that. So that's that. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Check it out for sure. Next movie I'm going to talk about is Little Women. Obviously there's been a few iterations of the movie. This is the book by Louisa May Alcott. There was a movie, I believe, with Katharine Hepburn, and then 20 or 25 years ago in the 90s, there was the next iteration, which was Susan Sarandon was the mom, and the girls were Winona Ryder and Kirsten Dunst. And
oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Christian Bale was Laurie.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I love that movie. And I used to have one of those. Do you remember the I think we had talked about this before, but the records, the follow along with the book.
Yeah.
And when it ding, you would turn the page. I had that for Little Women. That was like my first introduction. And I still think like there was a huge scene in this movie and I was like, oh, I remember this from my record book.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's weird.
So this movie is directed by Greta Gerwig. Gosh. I did that when I was writing her name. All I could think of was Thunberg Girl, whatever her name is.
Thunberg Girl.
And I was like, no, that's not her name. So this was directed by Greta Gerwig, who did Lady Bird. Please stop. You're making me screw up. We got to get through this. I didn't like Lady Bird, everyone knows, but I loved her style, and I thought she did a great job. And I love Greta. She's fantastic. Anyway. So this one stars Saoirse Ronan as Jo, Laura Dern as Marmee, Meryl Streep is Aunt March. What are the other girls? Eliza Scanlon, who was the girl in that Amy Adams show. Remember?
No.
Oh, what was it? Anyway, she was in this. Oh, she's great. Emma Watson is Meg, and Timothy Chalamet is Laurie. Chris Cooper plays Timothy Chalamet's grandfather, and he was really, really good in this. Maniacal
Chris
laugh.
Cooper. I mean, I've never seen Chris Cooper in anything.
I know he was really good in this, and it like, he was really good. So this movie is told in a different way. I've never read the book, so I go strictly off of the movies. But so I don't know if this was told the way it is in the book, or if she wrote it this way just to change it up a bit. And I really liked it because we kind of time hopped. So we came in later on, we're with Jo. We follow Jo through the main story, and then she would like be remembering previous times with her sisters. So if I know you don't know the story much, it's basically these 4 March sisters in New England. During the Civil War, their father has gone off to volunteer for the Civil War. They're very, very bleeding heart liberal family. Their mother helps take care of people in town, and they're always giving and doing good things and all of that. And that's kind of it. It's the story of these sisters and what they do. And Jo is the main one. She wants to be a writer. And she doesn't really ever want to get married and conform to the things that she's like, if I could go fight in the Civil War with my father, I would have, that sort of thing. And it's just that, Meg goes off to get married and has kids. Jo's struggling to write and provide for her family. Beth eventually gets scarlet fever and she's sick and eventually, spoiler, dies. Amy is the youngest, and their rich spinster aunt takes her to Europe to try and find her a very rich man, because that's the only way the family will survive. Bob Odenkirk plays their dad in this. And it's so the way it's told, I really liked it. I liked going from this later point, which we're dealing with. Beth is very ill and is probably on her way to die, and Joe going back and remembering the fun times when all the sisters lived together and, you know, they hadn't split up. And Timothy plays Lori, their neighbor, and Lori and Joe hit it off immediately. And you can, you know, and of course Lori proposes and she's like, no, we'd never be good and blah, blah, blah. Everyone kind of knows the story, so it's silly to go on with the story. Anyway, it felt very, people kept saying, she modernized it. I didn't feel like it was modernized at all. It's just, it is kind of a modern story. It never felt old to me, which is why I always liked it. It always felt,
even though it was centered around the Civil War.
It's not centered around the Civil War. That's just why the dad isn't there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just during that time. That's all. It's really more, you know, the story is about these sisters and about women. Yeah, at a time where maybe they weren't, you know, like in this one, it's constantly pointed out about the economic agreement of marriage. You know, at that point, women could not own property. They couldn't earn money on their own. And it's pointed out that if she were to have children, the children belong to the husband. They do not belong to the woman. So technically, a woman was not able to do anything. So to enter into a marriage with a man was for her an economic situation more than anything.
That stuff was still pointed out in this version, this movie?
Yes.
So that's not really updated, right?
Why does it need to be updated?
People said this was an updated version. And
yeah, but I don't know what they're talking about because it wasn't. So
I understand, but what I'm pointing out is that would have been an obvious thing to update, and they didn't.
I don't know why you would. That's how it was then. So why would you change that? You can't change that.
I'm not changing. Never mind.
Okay. So yeah, it just, you know, it's all the storylines are timeless, and even that, because technically there's still women can't earn as much as a man, and all the bullcrap that comes with it today that still is inequality exists. So, but the story of sisters, the story of finding love, the story of, losing a sibling, dealing with illnesses, parents, you know, all the issues that come with that. It's all timeless. So there's no need to update it. I would think people probably at times think, oh, let's just make it today, you know, instead of in the 1860s or whatever. Well, that'd be dumb. There's no reason to do that. It's perfect just the way it is. I just love the story. And I think it was reimagined in a really great way with some of the best actors that we have in that generation today doing their best job. You know, Timothy was so great. I mean, every time he's on the screen, I just love him so much. Mm-hmm. And again, he's so different when you see him in interviews. He's kind of flighty and, you know, and is so nervous and jittery and all of that. But when he's acting, and again, if you haven't seen the one with Steve Carell where Timothy is the drug addict son, I forget what it's, Beautiful Boy, I think. Oh my God, that was just amazing. But he's really great in this, which Laurie is he's very rich and very, and that kind of, you know, man, and he just did such a great job. Saoirse, of course, just, and here's the funny thing. This is a true, like, American story written by an American about these 4 New England American girls, and all 4 are not American. There's Saoirse, who's Irish. Emma Watson is English. Eliza Scanlon is Australian, and the 4th one, Amy Florence Pugh, she's English. So it's kind of funny that, you know, they all are. It's this very centered in this American story that we don't have a lot of, you know, and yet that's okay. Meryl Streep is in it. She's great, of course, as Aunt March. Lots of good lines. Yeah, very entertaining. Everyone really, really good. Really good.
Good.
Yeah, I loved it. So,
all right.
Little Women went on too long for that. Sorry.
Well, you know.
This one will be short. Cats.
Meow, meow.
Oh, if there was ever a time for that to be used.
So I've seen a couple things. I read a couple things last night,
Yeah.
And who was it? It's somebody.
Evan Rachel Wood.
Yeah. She's like, oh man.
Yeah. It's so okay. So just so everyone knows, I do love the show Cats. I saw it when I was in 6th grade, I think, or something. And I know the music by heart. And I have constantly on my DVR is a recorded of actually it's the London cast doing the stage show. I'm not an Andrew Lloyd Webber fan. This is one of maybe 2 kind of shows of his that I actually like. So I feel like I'm expert enough to judge this accordingly. And here's the problems. The CGI stuff on the people is a problem. On stage, a unitard with a belt and a tail hanging from it was perfectly fine for all of us. This was one of the longest running Broadway shows ever in history. Millions and millions and millions of people saw it, and never once did someone go, well, I wish they had real tails that worked.
It was still selling out at the end, so people weren't like...
It was not a problem to see people in a unitard and makeup on their face. So, Number one, that would have been just fine. They CGI'd the tails. At one point, there's like a little dance with the tails that was disturbing and weird. They didn't feel like they were in scale to the people at all. They also CGI'd their ears. So their ears are moving constantly, and it's distracting. Mm-hmm. Number 2, 3, 4, whatever, they screwed with some of the songs, which was annoying. I don't like when they cut out some of the songs. They also cast people who aren't the greatest singers and screwed up the songs, Rebel Wilson. And they did not do justice to some of the songs that are really good. Mm-hmm. Like she didn't. They tried to put in little side jokes like in the first half with James Corden and Rebel Wilson. Didn't work at all. They changed the story. They made McCavity this whole running mean person throughout the whole movie, and like he could do magic and he made people disappear and stuff. It was weird, stupid. That was Idris Elba. It was a dumb choice. Again, we know the story. It's been running for 40 years. Everyone knows. And no one's ever been like, well, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, it was stupid. Jennifer Hudson, who I was upset that she got cast because that role is normally, again, it was Betty Buckley. It was these huge divas that had been around for so long and got, and were able to do this. I felt like Jennifer Hudson was a little young, but when you look at the whole movie, number one, she's fantastic. She sounds fantastic. She knocked it out of the park.
Jennifer Hudson,
of course, right. So that's the only thing to watch. So if you can just see her clip on YouTube, that's all I advise to do. Secondly, Taylor Swift wrote a new song. I actually liked the song. She doesn't sing it. The main girl, there's a prima ballerina from the London Royal Ballet who is the main character in this movie. She sings it. She doesn't have a great voice. It was a nice song though. I actually really liked the song. Taylor Swift came in at the end as McCavity's little helper, and she sings McCavity, which is my favorite song of the whole show. Mm-hmm. So I was very nervous. She actually pulled it off. So there's 2 things worthwhile. It's Jennifer Hudson, and Taylor Swift singing McCavity was fine. If you don't like that song, then skip it. She's like dousing everyone with catnip and making them go weird. Again, weird stuff. Second or third, fourth, 10th, the show takes place in a junkyard. Like that's the stage show, is this junkyard, and everything was to scale and it all looked great. Here they're literally living like in a cat world or some, like on the streets, and there's a milk bar and nothing felt to scale. Like it was weird. Like a bowl was like a pool, and then a fork they could hold in their hand, and it was weird. 30th and the stage show on the stage show, these dancers, they were cats. Like again, it was amazing to watch these performers become cats on stage. They never broke that. Mm-hmm. We believed it. Mm-hmm. No one seemed to care about doing that. I don't know if it's because they said, oh, we'll just CGI whatever, but like on stage, they like would hold their hands like paws constantly. They never did anything else. This choreography had these people spreading their fingers out all the time. And I'm like, am I supposed to believe these are cats? It was very weird. And then at the end, Judi Dench like broke the fourth wall and like sang straight to the camera, or she sung.
She Shatnered.
Yeah, right to the camera, and it was a very weird thing. And again, on stage, it's different than when all of a sudden they're just staring at the camera and we're so weird. No one of a name other than Jennifer Hudson and Taylor Swift did a good job singing. Even though I know James Corden can sing, and I've blanked out on whoever else was in there, but the background people, the dancers, and these people that aren't names, when they would sing, they did a really good job. They tried to look. This was directed by Tom Hooper, who did Les Mis, and it was the wrong vision. I'm shocked that Andrew Lloyd Webber allowed any of this, because you don't need it. Like, again, I'm not saying just film the stage show, but I'll tell you what, for 10 plus years, I've had the stage show on my DVR so that I can go watch it whenever I feel like it, because it works. It's perfectly fine. Oh, Jason Derulo was Rum Tum Tugger, who's one of my favorites. He even screwed that up. And I don't think it's him. He's good. But whatever they wanted out of him was screwed up.
It was screwed up for him.
Let alone whatever other disturbing images and stuff there was. And bad CGI. At times it was so blurry. It was... That's it. I'm done. I can't.
Wow.
So that's my advice. On YouTube in a while, look for Jennifer Hudson's performance. And if you care about Taylor Swift, she did good. Look at hers. Everyone else was a waste. Everything else was weird.
So playing the role of the old man in the corner this morning is Danny.
Just for that.
Wow. Okay, so now that you told us all the stuff you liked about the show, what didn't you like? I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, are you not listening?
No.
Okay, so that was...
So I just want to point out that several months ago when I first saw the first clip, I reminded you that the studio execs, this was an easy one to call.
Yeah, everyone freaked out. And they actually, after that first trailer, and everyone freaked out about how horrible it looked, they went back and redid it. So what I'm watching is them thinking they had fixed the creepy problem.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
No. And there was no fixing it because of the concept that they had chosen.
Right.
So I wished, instead of spending the $200 million to make this, right, just give me $1 million and I'll tell you not to spend any more money. and you'll be way ahead. Release
an updated stage show. And don't worry about putting names in there. And if you want to, there are some amazing names out there that could have filled these spots other than these people. It just...
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. Just don't worry about the names. A lesser name in a role done well and true to the show, true to the origins of the show will sell better than this. It's not even a hot mess. Right. It's just a mess.
Case in point will be this summer when In the Heights comes out. There's not a name in there except for those of us that know actual Broadway names. Mm-hmm. No one else will know these people. John Chu and Lin-Manuel to sit there and go, no, let's do this. Because they know the show speaks for itself.
Right.
And that's all you're going to need. I think Jimmy Smits is in it. But other than that, it's like okay.
I really hope In the Heights does well.
Oh, it will.
I'm nervous about it.
No, not one bit. Okay. I am not nervous one bit.
I'm not nervous.
I'm going to be there days in a row watching it, and I will carry it myself.
Okay. Yeah. You need to buy several tickets per show.
I will. Okay. Next movie is Marriage Story, which is on Netflix. This has been nominated for Golden Globes and SAGs and all that stuff. This stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Written and directed by Noah Baumbach, who, if you know, he does kind of the smaller, a little bit more sad. He did like While We're Young and The Squid and the Whale and, Greenberg. So, anyway, this is called Marriage Story. It is about Scarlett and Adam Driver's relationship. We start out finding out that they are in therapy, thinking of a divorce, and then they are going to a divorce at this point, all because Scarlett Johansson wants it. She gives her reasons for it. Everything seems normal to those of us that are watching. And then it's just that. It is how this divorce process plays out, especially with a couple who they think they are cordial and that it is mutual, or that they're going to be good to each other during it, and how bad it can get, especially because lawyers force you to make it bad. How distrustful things can get during that process. They have a child, and he is a director of plays, she's an actress, and it's just, that's it. It's this examination of basically a year's worth of their lives throughout this separation and divorce process. I loved this movie. I really did. I know, but it comes out at a place where it's not hope, but there's a place of satisfaction. There's a place of knowledge that they'll be fine and that they are going to co-parent together, and it'll be okay. And
so they found peace.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was there's the one scene that's just, I mean, I was a mess. They had been to their lawyers and things were getting ugly, and she goes to his house and says, "Can we let's just talk this out with you and me, because obviously they're making us get crazy." And it starts out as a conversation, and it turns into what you assume is the worst fight they've ever had in their lives. And we've all been there, where that fight becomes the thing where you're saying things that you can't take back. You're saying the worst thing you've ever thought. And Adam Driver, who, again, I love so much, and he can break my heart so quickly. At the end of, what's the Jason Bateman movie? This Is Where I Leave You.
Yeah.
At the end of that movie, I cannot watch him say goodbye to Jason Bateman without losing it immediately. And in this scene, they're both going back and forth and back and forth. And then he spews horror, like, I hope you die, basically. And he catches himself that that's what he just said to the mother of his child. And he just collapses, and and it breaks you, and I'm just a mess, and she's just like, and it's just a beautiful moment though too, because again, then they came together, and he's hanging on her, and it's like sometimes you do just need to say some of these things and get your anger out, and that's in the middle of the movie.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it goes through, I think it's not worst case scenario, because again, these are still two normal people who just grew apart, really. It's not because of drugs, or he did cheat, but that really wasn't her reason. It's not because of physical abuse. It's not because of really mental abuse. She feels like she was just left out, basically, and she was overlooked and all of that sort of stuff. It's kind of a normal thing. But because of bringing lawyers in and your kid, and then it's all about, getting someone had to come in and interview the kid, and how can they each take care of the kid, all that bad, nasty stuff that just, if you could have just handled it yourself type thing. But it's really sweet, and everything at the end, especially, it comes out to where, they remember the love they have for each other, and that's there no matter what. And that their kid is there no matter what. And, so, it's, to me, I didn't feel like it was slow. I didn't feel like it was sad. I didn't feel like it was, to me, it was very interesting. I was captivated. I wanted to see what was going to happen next. And the two of them were on top, really. Yeah. So,
okay.
Marriage Story, it's on Netflix now. You can see it. Like I said, it's nominated for everything. So definitely check it out. All right. I'm going to move to television. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I will try. First off, The Mandalorian just ended the first season. There were 8 episodes. This is on Disney Plus. Everyone knows about the Baby Yoda extravaganza. You're supposed to actually call him the child or the asset. So this has just been a story of this one Mandalorian, these bounty hunters that we knew from the first trilogy, like Boba Fett. He took a job to find an asset. It turned out to be this Baby Yoda. He handed it over and took the money, and then he felt bad because he was handing these over to people from the old Imperial reign. And he went back and got him. And the rest of the season has kind of been about him protecting this child, and people still wanting him. And we don't know why they want him. We don't know why the Empire wants him. We don't know really who this is. He's a baby, but he's supposed to be 50 years old. He has used the Force a few times. It tires him out and he has to sleep afterwards.
I know how that goes.
So in this last episode, we learned a lot. We learned the whole backstory of the Mandalorian. We learned his real name. We learned a lot of things about Giancarlo Esposito, is the leader of the Empire that kind of still exists. We learned about him. We learned about Apollo Creed's backstory. I forget his name on the show, but he'll always be Apollo Creed. So it was very interesting. It was a really good last episode. And we kind of left it where the Mandalorian, his quest, his whole reason, his way is that now he's supposed to find Baby Yoda's people and return him to his people and find out, all of that. So we don't know. We do know season 2 is coming in the fall. If that's going to be the case, if he's going to still just try and find his people, we don't know if there are other species of Yoda. We've never examined that. So we'll see. But there's been interesting people. There's also still a few unanswered questions. Like Ming-Na Wen was on and he was gonna kill her and he didn't, and then someone showed up with boots. We only saw their boots and we don't know who that was. So there's still some questions that we need to go into the second season, but we also got a lot of good answers in this last one. I really liked it. It's a really great addition to the whole story of Star Wars, but it's also this little offshoot too. But he's also gone to places that we've been familiar with and that sort of thing. So again, Jon Favreau, Yeah. I mean, there's a thing going around of a meme, Jon Favreau, where it's like he wants to make a Christmas movie, instantly creates a classic, with Elf. Decides he's going to make a Marvel movie, creates this entire universe, and now wants to make a live action Star Wars TV show. And here's this Mandalorian Baby Yoda craze, So it's like, I'm glad he's getting, what's due.
Yeah, and he should, because he's good and creative.
And it lets us overlook the Lion King fiasco. So
it's not his fault.
He directed that.
Well, anyway. So okay. I do want to say just one thing.
Yeah.
I've seen probably a grand total of about 2 minutes of this show, just kind of passing through while you're watching it.
Yeah.
And I am stunned that Disney Plus is only $6.99, and whatever it goes to after the trial period or whatever, is not going to pay for the show. It can't. This show is so expensive and well done. It's just, it blows me away that this is a show you get.
It feels like it's for free. Yeah.
It really kind of is. I mean, man, I'm just stunned that this is an offering on there, and I
know it really is amazing, and it's a very visually, and there are some episodes where there's hardly any dialogue, and so it's all just what we're looking at, and it's amazing. And Baby Yoda alone, on how he looks, it's just, I mean, that's why we're all going crazy. We just want to grab him, carry him around, and see his little hand, little blinkies, and his little teeth, and so cute.
How cool would it be to have a little Baby Yoda and a Bjorn?
I know, and that's how they carry him around.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, moving on. The next show is Marvel's Runaways. The third season just came out, and that is the final season, so we're done. This was a show on Hulu. It's also on Disney Plus. I don't know if the third season was on Disney Plus yet, but it was on Hulu. So anyway, so this is a Marvel show. It was a comic book. It's really good. It's not something that I thought I was going to enjoy when it first came out. But I've really enjoyed these 3 seasons. It deals with these group of teenagers. They find out that their parents are doing these really weird things. It's really hard to describe. Some have magical staffs. One has a psychic connection with a dinosaur. One has like these robot hands where he can, shoot off weapons. Like one has crazy strength. Like it's weird. Like there's this whole alien storyline. There's they've figured out time travel in this last season. Like there's a lot of what seems to be really weird stuff going on, but man, it really works. And I was really into the show. These kids were really good. The stuff that the parents are into was really strange, and you've got these two sides going on, and the kids basically in the first season, they run away. That's why they're called Runaways, because they find out their parents are sacrificing children to keep this alien person alive. And so they run away from their parents, and then they like live in this house and are doing all these things to try and take down their parents and this whole alien thing. But it sounds weird, but it's really good. It's really entertaining. And I've really enjoyed all 3 seasons. So if you haven't watched it, go to Disney Plus or to Hulu and check out the 3 seasons. It's worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's Marvel. So, they're shutting down their whole TV thing. Like they're not going to do TV anymore. So all the Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and this, like they're not doing, Marvel's decided not to do TV right now. But what they have done has been really good. So definitely check it out.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Because I just, when you said a 3rd and final season, it was on Hulu. My initial reaction was like, okay, well, it's just going to retool and move over to Disney Plus then. Yeah,
it did. Yeah, it's on there. It's just
right, but that's
you meant like a 4th season,
like a 4th season, a year now. So from now, they'll just retool it and start it back up, maybe with the other things too. Right. So I mean, who knows? Maybe you make it sound now like that's not going to be the case, but
no,
you never know. I guess.
Yeah. Okay, next is the show The Purge. The 2nd season just ended. I know you have a fundamental issue with this, but man, this 2nd season was so good. It was a completely different look at everything. It started the season right at the end of The Purge, and then we had the whole year in between, because it was all these, I had told you when the season started, it was these different stories the year in between The Purge. So one guy found out someone was trying to purge him. So he spent the year trying to figure out who that was. We had another kid who ended up having to kill someone during the purge because he was captured, and then he got like this bloodlust all during the year, and he just started wanting to kill people. And so during that year, that was his story. There's another group that their friend got arrested after the first purge, and so they were planning this whole bank heist during the whole thing and figuring out what they were going to do during the purge, which was a really cool story that ended up being something completely different. And then a chick that worked for the NFFA, which is the new founding fathers who designed this whole purge thing. She worked for them, and then she found out that they were actually killing people off purge. They were killing people who were anti-purge and who were doing studies and finding out that, because the whole reason of the purge was if everyone gets their anger out and does all this stuff one day a year, and that includes bank robberies, that includes any crime, not just killing people, but it was supposed to help people and keep crime down, and like all the problems were supposed to go away. Science was showing that wasn't the case, that it was making people more violent and things were getting worse. And so anyone who was coming out with that information and doing those studies, the founding fathers were actually killing, and she found this out. And so during her year, she was going through and trying to gather evidence and all this stuff and getting herself into trouble as well. So then during the purge at the end was also interesting to see what was happening with her. So it was actually a really cool season to see all, like, again, it wasn't just killing for 10 episodes. It was these stories and what was happening. And the guy who had found that he was on the black market, that someone wanted to purge him, he finally was able to figure it out. And it was like all his neighbors had put together money and put him on the black market so someone would come and purge him. And the reason was he was a doctor, and one of his neighbors his wife died like in his care or whatever, just a normal thing that happens. And the guy was so angry, and all the neighbors loved her too. And so they wanted this doctor killed. And so that whole thing, it was all just really interesting. And there's a lot to talk about. The college kid who just discovered this bloodlust and was killing like crazy. It was like really weird. But there's people out there. I mean, there are serial killers out there, and they just want this. And
sure.
So it was, but this season also really spoke to, because of the science and the way it ended up was for the next season was there's a lot of protesters. There's a lot of stuff going on where people are saying this is the wrong thing. We shouldn't be doing this. So again, it opens up that whole discussion of things. So anyway, again, 10 episodes. It's on FX, or no, I think it's on USA actually. I think it's on USA. If you liked the movies, this was the second season of the show. The first season was actually really good too. I've really enjoyed this. And so The Purge, second season, good. I hope there's a third one.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, I know. Next show I'm going to talk about is called You. The second season is on the second season is on Netflix. The first season was on Lifetime, and it actually switched over to Netflix for the second season. This stars Penn Badgley. Everyone knows him from Gossip Girl. This first season was really good. This second season was really good. It's just a really interesting, like, he plays this crazy, he's not crazy, but he plays this stalker type
psychopath
guy. He's and in this second season we learned a lot about his childhood. So now we know why he's this way, which was interesting. But basically his history is he attaches himself to a woman that he decides he's in love with, and he goes out of his way to cyber stalk them in real life, finally gets to meet them. He can manipulate his whole character into who he knows they want. But the problem is he ends up then getting angry. Like if there's a friend that kind of will be negative towards him, he kills the friend. If anyone gets in the way of this relationship that he sees that is so important, he will kill them. And so that's what happened last season was he killed a bunch of friends of the girl. And unfortunately by the end of it, because she figured out what he had done, he killed her. So this season he moved out to LA, and there's a whole nother thing. He found another one, and he kept trying to stop. He didn't want to be with her. He kept trying to stop. He's like, I don't want to do this. Like, he keeps saying, I'm a good person, and I'm not going to do this sort of stuff. So you're very conflicted watching him because you believe him. There's a lot of times he's done a lot of really good things. Like in this season, there was a girl, there was Chris, Insecure. What's his name?
Oh, Chris D'Elia.
Yes, thank you. He's in this. He plays like this comedian, this really famous comedian. And it turns out that he actually drugs underage girls and messes with them and stuff. And there's this girl that lives in Joe's apartment complex, and he finds this out. And so he goes and kills him, which is really nice that he was protecting this 15-year-old girl that lives in his apartment complex. But it's like, you could have just turned him in, but he kills him instead. So it's like you're sometimes you're conflicted. Like in last season, there was this boy that lived next door to him, and his stepdad or whatever would beat him. And so he did the same thing to the stepdad and beat him to death, protecting the little boy. And so you're like, why am I so conflicted about this guy? It's one of those characters. It's written because obviously if you hated everything he did, you wouldn't watch the show. So they have to give him some kind of quality that can make you latch onto him, believe it. You want to believe that he's good. You really, really do.
I bet if there was a show like this that the person has no redeeming qualities whatsoever, I think you would still watch.
I don't know about that.
I think you would.
I don't think so.
Well, I do.
Anyway, so this was the second season, 10 episodes on Netflix. It's really good. I would say go back, watch the first season, and then watch the second one. It's really interesting. And Penn Badgley, he was not my favorite person on Gossip Girl, but he really carries this. There's a lot of voiceover because he's thinking, so he's telling us what he's thinking all the time. And it's just very interesting. And this season, he found a girl that was kind of just as crazy, it turned out, had killed as many people as he has for the same reasons. And so that was really interesting. But by the end of the second season, he's already latched onto a neighbor. So we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting. Oh, and they're having a baby too. So now he's going to be a father. Anyway, okay. So that's that. Last show I want to talk about, and maybe I should say this because I can't really do it quickly, and we're already at almost an hour, is the morning show on Apple TV Plus. The first season has ended. I actually have a million thoughts about this show, so maybe we should save it.
I think you should save it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. That sucks.
I'm sorry.
I really do have a lot. But we're going to get to the Director's Corner then with Ron Howard. So next week I will be talking about the morning show, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we usually do the Actor's Corner, but today we're doing Actor/Director Corner. Basically, film and TV personality.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're gonna look at Ron Howard. So I asked, my first thing was, well, can we include anything he's acted in? And you said, yeah, whatever, everything he's done is all part of it.
Yeah, I think it's all encompassing.
Okay, go ahead. Movies
So,
you love.
Movie or TV series I love. I got it down to 3. Happy Days, of course, first thing I saw him in. And can't imagine that show without him,
Right.
and him without that show. I mean,
Yeah.
that was for me the start of Ron Howard. Now,
I think Andy Griffith.
he had been in stuff before, earlier, but I didn't see that then.
Oh,
Right. I saw Happy Days as it was on TV.
right.
And that was the start of Ron Howard for me.
Okay. I probably saw Andy Griffith first just because that was on every morning, and I remember watching that every morning. So that probably was something more that I saw more than Happy Days that I can remember. But they were probably, for me, they were on simultaneously. So
My upbringing was like Pleasantville. You don't watch TV in the morning.
you don't?
No.
We used to have television in school. Like when you're before school started, they would have TVs on wheels. Bring it in, we watch Casper, all that stuff. And I Love Lucy was on every morning before I left for school. I would watch that.
Yeah, that was not life in the frozen tundra of northern Wisconsin.
Okay.
No.
Reading Rainbow.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, so was that all you had?
No, I've got
Okay.
2 others. Apollo 13.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
on mine.
Yeah, and the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put that under like.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So what are the ones you love?
Apollo 13.
Yeah, that was
and-
easy.
Yeah, and Frost Nixon.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. I can watch that
Mm-hmm.
every day. And that's kind of the theme, I think, for me with most of Ron Howard's stuff. He's so good at telling a story that I can watch it over and over and over and over again. And like last week I watched Spotlight three days in a row, and we had this discussion. That's not Ron Howard's, but we had this discussion of, there are some movies like that you can be enthralled by it. Whereas, like rom-coms and stuff, you just watch and you just enjoy it. And Apollo 13 is one of those where I can still, even the first time watching it, I remember thinking, I know these guys come back, and why am I so tense and stressed out? And every time I watch it, probably over 50 times at this point, I still get stressed out, and I still bawl my eyes out when they finally show up. And, and there is something about being able to tell that story.
That's just good storytelling.
I'm the same with Frost Nixon.
Yeah.
I still watch it and I'm going, are they going to get him? Are they going to get him? And when they're true stories and the ending, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And Da Vinci Code, it's the unfurling of that mystery. And I know people say the book was so much better, but I love the mystery of that first movie and how it unfolds, and again, you can watch it and still watch it with them and go, yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. The little details in there and all of that. That's what I love about the things that Ron Howard does. It really, it's storytelling.
He's
mastery.
he's fantastic at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Movies you like?
I got it down to 3.
Okay.
Backdraft.
Yes, mine's on there.
Frost Nixon.
Okay.
And Parenthood.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got Parenthood, Backdraft, and Da Vinci Code. So
yeah.
Parenthood is one of those classics. There's absolutely nothing like it.
Right.
And when they did the TV show, which he also produced, it's one of the best TV shows that's ever happened to. It was such a great translation of the movie.
Yeah, but I think the TV show, what I've seen of it, is Because Parenthood was the movie was kind of a comedy.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right? And there's comedic parts. There's funny parts of Parenthood, the TV series.
No, it was much more dramatic.
It's much more poignant and dramatic and
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Backdraft. Oh, remember the first time you saw that? Like,
Yes.
do you remember that fire? And it was almost all practical. There was not a lot of CGI in there.
Right.
And I still don't understand the thought process of getting those shots and and I've watched behind the scenes stuff and they talk about how they did all of it, but it's just like, that was one of the most amazing new things that we had ever seen. And again, I love the storyline. I love those brothers. But to think of a story being centered around this fire and the way they made it look was intense and incredible. And yeah, love that movie.
Yeah, and it's terrifying.
It is, yeah.
The way it was done, to think that fire can scream.
Yes.
The sound was just, I'll never forget the first time I saw that.
Right.
You know, it was like, okay, it's fire, and all of a sudden, oh my God, it's making that sound.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was terrifying. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. Movies you hate.
So I redid my blank. So I updated the term, the terminology, the verbiage. It's now movie or TV series I hate, dislike, or have no interest in. So
Go ahead.
I went with Solo, a Star Wars story, and that falls under the category of I have no interest in it.
Okay, so I put Solo under embarrassed I haven't seen because I am. I want to watch it because it is part of the story. But I don't. I'm unwilling to say it's bad or that I have no interest in it. I do have an interest in it.
Are you afraid to watch it? Because you don't want to be disappointed?
No, I just haven't. I haven't heard a reason as to why I should.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We'll
Anything else in there?
No.
Okay, I don't have anything in that category.
Okay.
Secretly Love?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
No.
Yep.
You're not allowed.
Yes. Max. I love ya. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it is. So that movie has, it's grown on me.
Well, that's good. Did your heart grow 2 sizes?
Oh, at least. I'm sure I have an enlarged
He
heart.
doesn't like Jim Carrey. He doesn't like Christmas. So normally I watch, because this is on my list here, of course.
It's one of your favorite movies.
Yes.
So.
Because I love Jim Carrey. I love Christmas.
Yeah.
I love Ron Howard. Love The Grinch.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it's steadily grown on me to the point now where
there's so many funny moments.
There are.
Yeah. And one of the funny moments when Jim Carrey is actually impersonating Ron Howard. It's very funny.
Oh, when is that?
When he puts the nose on Max and Max swipes it off and he's playing a director. He's like, okay, and he plays the director and he goes, oh, brilliant. And he's like, he says something like, you get rid of the nose because it symbolizes this and that, and he's break, check the gate, and he walks off, and that was like his
never caught that
Ron Howard impression.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
because he puts a baseball cap on and all that. So, anyway, too much. Do you have anything else in that?
No, that's it.
Okay, so I have The Grinch and I have Arrested Development. It's so they produce that. He's also the narrator of the show.
Wait a minute. You have The Grinch and Secretly Love?
Yeah. I just couldn't put everything in one place. That's all. I gotta spread it out.
It's no secret. I protest. That can't be in that category for you.
Okay.
You profess your love for that, like in every conversation you have with anybody. You really do.
I am Danny. I love The Grinch. How you doing?
Pretty much. Your parents call, hey, how are you? Good. I love The Grinch.
They think I'm just talking about you.
Oh. Well played.
So can I get back to Arrested Development?
Go for it.
Okay. So they produce the show. He narrates it. He was finally on it. Not this last season, the season before, which was hysterical. Brian Grazer has been on it a bunch. First off, Arrested Development is just a great show. His narration is great. They make fun of Ron Howard a bunch, and it's all funny and just really good. I still think you would like that show. I wish you would watch it.
I probably would.
Yeah. Okay, embarrassed you haven't seen?
I got 2,
Okay.
actually.
I have 3.
Cocoon.
Me too.
Okay. American Graffiti.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because that's a classic, and depending on what crowds you run around with, it's a topic that comes up.
Yeah.
So for guys my age or a little bit older, American Graffiti is a classic,
Yes.
and I haven't seen it. So.
Okay. So I had Solo, Cocoon, and The Paper. I always wanted to see The Paper, and I think it just got away from me.
Yeah.
Good cast. So, adding to your watch list?
Far and Away.
Huh.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I didn't have any reason to go back. Okay, so I've got...
Well, thanks for making me feel better
That's
about
okay.
it.
I've got honorable mentions, of course. The Music Man. That was one of my... I mean, he's so freaking cute in that. And I had Happy Days and Andy Griffith. And then for directing, I went back. Angels and Demons and Inferno. I still liked them. They weren't as compelling as Da Vinci Code to me. I thought Inferno was much better than Angels and Demons. In the Heart of the Sea. I love that movie. Oh my goodness. The true story behind Moby Dick. Chris Hemsworth. Rush. The racing one with... that was a good movie.
That's the one centered around Ayrton Senna, right?
No, it's the French guy that died. That name doesn't sound familiar.
Okay.
Not died. He just died, actually. He was in that crash back then. A Beautiful Mind. That's another one. Man, the unfurling of that story, telling of that whole mystery, even though it's not really a mystery. Oh, love that movie.
If it was anybody other than Russell Crowe, I'd have seen it by now.
He doesn't bother me in this one.
Yeah,
Not at all.
I can't do it.
Ed TV. Classic. Ransom. Splash. Oh my gosh. I saw Splash so many times when I was a kid. I loved that movie. You've never seen Splash?
Seen it. Nope.
You liked
I still do. Daryl Hannah?
No. I was gonna say the one that won a couple years ago. It's kinda like that. What is that called? The one with the monster in the water and she can't talk and they won Best Picture, remember?
Oh, yes. I know.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It's it feels like that, just a comedy.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of. But, I mean, Tom Hanks, John Candy, you can't, so.
Oh, that's going to bug me. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Water.
I want to say water.
Water.
That's not it. That can't be it. No.
Okay. We'll go figure it out. You guys don't have to listen to this. Okay, so we're good. I'm hoping we'll do another one before.
The Shape of Water.
Thank you.
Yep. Whew, I'm exhausted. Gotta go. Love you. Bye.
Hopefully we'll do another one of these in the next week. We'll see some more stuff this week. I definitely will talk about the morning show. It will be kind of a long discussion because I have have some good thoughts and I have some not so great thoughts. Yeah, that's it. So everyone have a very safe and happy new year. And our next thing will be in 2020.
Sounds good.
All right. New decade.
Yep.
Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.